Diana, I got your number from your resume on LinkedIn. My name is Sarah, and I'm an old student of, and like you, we had a relationship. I don't know the circumstances of your relationship with him, but it concerns me to see his behavior continued long after I knew him. I'm curious if you would be willing to talk to me about your experience. If not, I respect that.
Sarah, I am at a loss of words, but also have so much to say. Yes, I would love to talk to you about this. Were you a student in Iowa? This is Diana.
This is Sarah.
And this is Blooming After Grooming, our podcast.
Would you like to hear a joke, Sarah?
I would. I always do.
Why did the pony have trouble speaking?
Because it was nasally. Nope.
That's a good guess. But no, the answer is it was a little hoarse. That was Sarah, everyone. It was not a sound effect.
That was a real little Sebastian joke there.
Yeah, it was a little hoarse. Okay, welcome back to Blooming After Grooming. In our last episode, we talked about our aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
And we did talk a little bit about what was going on in our lives when you reached out to me. This is our Finding Each Other episode. That's the first question I always got when I would tell people about you. The first question people ask is like, how did she find you? How did you guys even find each other? How did that text come to be?
How did I find you? That's the question. I knew in my heart of hearts and my fart of farts that there was another person out there. Like, I just knew there was no way that you do what the teacher did to me and then you just go and you date an age appropriate person. Like, that's just not how pieces of shit like this function. It's just not. And so I'd always assumed that there was another person out there. And so, yeah, the next day after I had my aha moment, as we call it, I just started looking and I started Googling the teacher and found his father's obituary where Diana was listed as his long-term girlfriend or long-time girlfriend or something, which I was really surprised by the way. Like, that's not super too. It's not super normal in general. Like, usually unless you're married, you don't get mentioned in like an obituary. And then I Googled you and I figured out where you had graduated high school. And then I cross-referenced where he was working as a teacher and figured out it was the same school. And I was able to figure out your age by like the year that you graduated high school. And like, it was very clear to me that the same thing had happened to you that happened to me. But this just kind of felt like just like validation of this belief that I had always had, like even from when I left him in college. Like, I just always had this sneaking, nagging suspicion that it was going to happen again. Then I looked you up on your LinkedIn and your phone number was listed on your resume. And I texted you the text message that is the intro to our episodes, which was a really fucking nerve-wracking text to send. I will say, I really vividly remember sitting in my office at work, like sweating bullets, getting ready to hit send on that text message and being worried like, A, it's going to bounce back. Like, that's not even her phone number. Or B, she's still dating him. I didn't know if you had come around to realizing that what happened to you was wrong. I didn't know 100% that he had abused you when you were in high school. I had a strong fucking instinct that he had, but I didn't know. So like, I could have been totally off the mark. So I remember being very, very, very stressed out that day that I sent that text message to you. And then you responded very quickly within like a minute or something, which was like super relieving because I don't know how I would have handled if it had been like 3 days later. I would have been an absolute mess. But then when you responded and you were immediately like, yes, I want to talk to you, I absolutely fell apart. Like, I was just like legitimately hysterical. Like, I had to leave work. I remember calling my manager and she couldn't even understand what I was saying. And she like had to come to my office and I was like bawling. And I just told her, and again, I hadn't told anybody. I had just had my realization the day before. And I remember just being like, I was groomed and assaulted by abused by my high school English teacher, and I just decided to try to, and I was like on the verge of throwing up, and I remember her just being like, "Just go home, like whatever you
Yeah.
need to do, just go." And I didn't know what to do, and I remember trying to call a bunch of people, and it was the middle of the fucking day, like everyone's at work, and I ended up just going to my friend who works at a clothing store here in town, and I just walked into the store hysterical, and I was like, "Can you talk?" And she was like, "Yes." And so I just like ended up on the back
Oh,
like alleyway behind a clothing store, bawling to my friend, just freaking out. And I just like went home, and I don't really remember the rest of that day, but I just remember being it was a really fucking intense day. And you were getting a COVID test.
yeah, I was getting a COVID test on a day where I couldn't go to my partial hospitalization program because I was taking a break from work for having a mental breakdown, also in between houses, and also thinking about quitting my job. So it was there's a lot of shit going on in my life at that time. I'm looking at our picture and I'm at Dan's and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Like I don't where was I living at that time? A little bit of everywhere." But yeah, you had just had the realization the day before. So what was it that made you like jump straight to like I'm texting this person rather than like I'm gonna sit on it?
I sat on it for 18 fucking years, dude. And I don't know if we edited this out from me ranting about it before, but I had tried to catfish your ass when you were in high school because I saw you writing about the teacher on MySpace, which dates how long ago that was. It was on fucking MySpace. And I had made a fake account and I tried to get you to talk to me because I had an inkling that this was happening and it didn't work and you didn't take the bait. And when I saw your name and I saw your picture on your LinkedIn, I knew it was you. And I felt so like, God damn it. Like, I just felt so like mad at myself that I like didn't try harder before. I guess when I found your name and your picture, the motivation was like, I should have fucking done this 18 years ago. I'm not waiting another second. And that was honestly, I would say, a majority of the reason that I flipped out after you messaged me is I felt so fucking guilty. I felt so guilty. Like I felt like I should have spoken up when I was in college about him because I would have been able to get him out of the classroom and then this wouldn't have happened to you. And it was such an overwhelming sensation of like, you fucking protected this guy for like, why? Like, that's never, like, it was subconscious. And I think you've talked about this too. Like, grooming is just so fucked up and it does such a weird thing to your brain. And he was so good at, like, I think making both of us feel responsible for what happened to us.
Yeah.
It took a really long time for me to unlearn that about myself. And luckily, in relation to you, I feel like I got over it pretty fast because I feel like you and I were able to connect and you were like, girl, no. Like, you were like, no, 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 no,
You
no, we're not
got
doing
that.
that. Yeah. And which was really helpful. And I appreciate it greatly because I felt terrible. I mean, I literally felt 100% responsible for what happened to you for like at least 24 hours before we actually, because then you and I got on a Zoom call within a day or something of that text
Yeah,
message.
it
Like
was pretty shortly. Yeah.
we hit the ground fucking running.
Thank you for sharing the reason why, right? Which to me at this point should be so obvious. And it still hits so hard to hear you be like, I had waited enough time. Like, that's why. And I
Mhm.
think that's important for people to hear that there was just something in you that decided we're not doing this anymore and we're not waiting anymore. We're fucking taking action. And you did. And thankfully, even though there was a lot of, yeah, instability happening in my life, you texting me didn't feel like you were blowing up my world. It felt like part of what was going to help me build my world back together because
Mm.
I had already started doing the work. I had already had this realization and I had my aha moment months, I think even a year. Yeah, like a year. I had a year's worth of this realization of what happened to me and in hindsight it makes sense that I was having a mental breakdown, like not only because I worked in a high school where I was one of few Spanish speakers in a high school where most of the students and their families are Spanish speakers during COVID, and seeing
Mhm.
the lack of resources and lack of information getting to most of our families. And so, there was just a lot of happening with that, but then also processing the fact that I was groomed and sexually abused under the noses of so many educators. It
Mhm.
made me feel like, have I let, as a counselor, like, have I not noticed things? Have I let some things go under my nose? It just made me feel really insecure in my position, and I felt like I wasn't able to be there for my students. Like, I was just so in my head in my own stuff that I felt like the protective shield that mental health professionals put on, to not absorb everything
Mhm.
that they hear, it just wasn't there anymore, and I was taking that home with me, and then just being in a school itself was triggering. So there was a lot happening, and so I kinda put working on processing the fact that I was groomed and sexually abused by my high school English teacher on hold so I could just get some kinda normal baseline, and then after doing that for a few, months, for a couple months, I felt like I was in the perfect position to now come back to this work,
Mhm.
but come back to the what now? What do I do now?
Yeah, and I mean, I think and I look back at it now and I think I feel a lot better about at the time I had that guilt of like I should have done this sooner, should have done this sooner. And I think we both have that because even, after we came forward, there were other students that came forward that wrote statements about the teacher saying super creepy shit to them like, "Oh, I can't wait till you come over to my till you're in 18 so you can come to my apartment and watch movies," and like commenting on their clothes and like just being a general creep to them. And I feel like we both had that. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like we both kind of had that like, fuck, dude, like
Mhm.
I wish that we could have done this sooner so we could have prevented this from happening to these other kids. Cause some of these people, like, even though they weren't, physically, sexually abused like we were, have had to go to therapy about the way this guy treated them. Like, he has had a severely negative impact on more people's lives than just you and I. But the thing that makes me feel okay or better about the fact that, like, I waited as long as I did to find you is that I really don't think we would have been in the right place to do this in any other time. Like, I think it happened at the right time. I think the culture had to be in a place where it's at. Not that it's perfect, not that we're doing great.
Exactly what you're saying. I feel so confident that the timing of this happened when it was supposed to happen. There's just so many things that feel something bigger than us is
Mm.
setting us up for on this path. I didn't even know I was in his dad's obituary. And I'm surprised that I was in his dad's obituary because things were already starting to fall apart. I don't feel like we were even quote unquote together when his dad died, but I did go to the funeral and was with him. I had broken up with him before his dad died, but it was like that phase of like, we're broken up, but we're maybe thinking about getting together. And once his dad died, I felt, human. I felt sad and empathy, and decided to go to Iowa to be there for the services. And I do remember the night of his services, we had sex, and I remember feeling like, oh, I guess this means we're back together. And then we worked together when we got back to Illinois. Sorry, that just really derailed me. What was I talking about?
I don't know, but
Why
honestly,
did I bring that
honestly,
up?
just the idea of you saying that just skeeved me out so hard of just like, oh, God, I hate that guy
Yeah,
so much.
I know. His
I
dad
do,
died. Oh, the
I
obituary. That's right. The obituary.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I
I
do think
remembered.
it's funny though, because I strongly believe that his own saving face being a little bitch, not telling his family that he got broken up with by his child bride, led to you being listed in the obituary, which led to me finding you, which led to him losing his career. So that cracks me up because it's like if he had been honest with his family that you guys broke up, we would not be talking right now. I would have never found
Right?
you.
When you told me that's how you found me, I was like, we were like barely together at that point. How did I make it? It's like, what? This kind of
Mhm.
divine like, and another thing that also felt, I don't know how else to say it besides like mystical and witchy. It just felt like something bigger than us. The fact that like you found me on LinkedIn, which by the way, I do not have my resume with my phone number on my LinkedIn anymore. I took it down since, and I didn't even have it on there for that long because very recently, before you contacted me, I had just started updating my LinkedIn after probably like 7, maybe even more years. And
Hmm.
so it's just like the fact that there was something in me that decided, hey, now is the time to spruce up my LinkedIn and put my resume with all my contact information on there, then led to you finding me. There's so much of finding each other and how we met that feels just strangely beautiful, given the context. And
I think our podcast is a lot like us meeting, which is just like nice things coming out of terrible things. And I would say that's how it kind of felt finding you. Like it was such a mix of excitement, relief, anger, rage, all of the feelings when we finally connected. And then, yeah, I think we literally had our Zoom call the next day, two
I'm
days
trying
later.
to,
It was really
yeah,
fast.
2 days later. We
2 days
talked to each
later
other 2 days later. Yeah.
on a Zoom call. Do you remember, like, did you reach out to anybody after I reached out to you? Did you call anybody or phone a friend?
I know I told Kristen, but the one thing that I do remember is the next day when I was able to um, go back to the program, telling the people in the program and feeling like they had my back. The thing about a PHP is I really wish that every adult could do it. I am so grateful for the fact that I had the privilege to be able to just take 6 weeks off of work and spend 8 hours a day trying to work on my mental health, and the community that you build in there. And I'm still so grateful for that group of people. Really, I remember telling them, without getting so into it, but I remember telling them that I was groomed and sexually abused by my high school English teacher, and that someone from Iowa who also had him as a teacher found me. And I remember them just being like, whoa, and oh my God, what that's awesome. And just feeling so supported. And that,
Mhm.
like, kind of this jolt of life going back into this thing that I had started months ago, which was dealing with this reality. And now here's this new piece of the puzzle, and like, what are we going to do now? And then just feeling so supported by this community of people who I've shared things with, for the last few weeks. Yeah, their reaction is probably the one that I remember the most, because it was just such a strange time in my life, and that is where I was spending the most of my time, and where I was doing a lot of personal reflection and facing harsh realities about myself and my life.
Specifically, conversations with family, I feel like are ones that kind of stand out in my memory a little bit more because those are a little bit harder, right? Like depending on your dynamics and your family and who you're talking to. But yeah, I mean, I feel like excitement is the right word, and it sounds strange because I think so many people would
Right.
think that sounds really like, why would you be excited? But I I think it's just for me, it was exciting to know I'm not alone. I'm not the only person this happened to. And I have worked on this and I don't think this way anymore. And my therapist has helped me with it. But at the time, it was I'm not the only idiot, right? Like, I'm not the only dummy who drank this dude's Kool Aid, because, like, that's how it feels. Like, when you see it, you're just like, duh. How did I fall for this? And so it made me feel good to just know, like, okay, somebody else also fell for this. Then that makes me feel like I'm not so ridiculous or something. It's like a cult effect or something, right? Where it's like it probably feels good to talk to other people who've gotten out of cults, to be like, you understand what I went through. You understand manipulation. You understand gaslighting. I don't have to explain myself to you. I can just talk to you and, like, share with you, and I don't have to justify my actions, and I don't have to explain to you how I got where I was. And I think that's very freeing. And I think that's why, like, I enjoyed reading all the books that I read and watching the documentaries that we talk about on Groom Scroll. Is it happens to so many people, and it just makes you remember, like, there is nothing wrong with me. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong with you. We are just human beings that were very much manipulated by these monstrous people. And I think there's a lot of power in just like that shared experience. So yeah, I felt excited. And then, we also were on the same page about buckle up, buttercup. We're going to take this fucker down. And that was also very exciting. So
Yeah, how did you, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but how did you prep for the meeting? Like, do you remember that day specifically.
Just saying to my husband, like, I don't know how this is gonna go. And I didn't know, like, were we gonna vibe? It's so weird to think about now, dude. Like, we got on a Zoom call with a person that each of us had never met to talk about arguably one of, if not the most horrible things that had ever happened to us in our lives. And we just did it. You know what I mean? Like, we just got on that call and were able to, like, talk about it, which is fucking. I really wish we had recorded the entire conversation. I would love to go back in time and see that fucking conversation of you and I for the very first time talking. Would be fascinating to watch now. Because I don't remember. I just remember being really anxious. I think I was sweating a lot. I'm sure I had to do some deep breaths. But then I remember getting off the call and being like, fuck yes. Like, I just remember getting on that call and just be like, we're going to ruin someone's life. And I was,
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, not ruin his life. We're going to hold somebody accountable for their terrible actions.
That's right.
And their terrible actions will ruin their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Do you remember prepping?
Yes. Well, so I have a project journal, and I decided that my meeting with you would be appropriate to put in my project journal. So I still have the day that we met, the notes, the
Aw.
questions that I had for you. So bullet point 1, how did she find out about me? And underneath that, for what purpose? So we talked about that.
Justice. That was
Yeah,
the
I was really,
purpose.
that was something I was thinking about, is like, okay, because again, like, I knew my experience, right?
Mhm.
I knew that I had, for the last year, had this realization and have been trying to figure out, one, what it means. Also, like, what do I do with it? Also,
Mhm.
like, I knew that I knew eventually I wanted to make some kind of contact with him and say, fuck you. I know what a creepy perv you are now. And I want you to know that I know. So yeah, I wasn't sure if I just wasn't sure why you were trying to talk to me. So that was a question I had, for what purpose. The next bullet point is she the Sarah with an H, the crazy one, because that's what he would tell people whenever he would hear that, oh, your name's Sarah with an H or without an H? Ah, great. Because Sarahs with an H are crazy. So I was
That
wondering if you were the Sarah with an H.
enrages me on a level that it shouldn't. Because this is classic toxic male behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You treat someone like trash and you drive them to the brink of insanity with your bullshit behavior, and then you call them crazy. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Guess who's crazy? The pervy old teacher who is sexually abusing young girls. That's crazy. I'm not bitter. It's fine. Continue.
This one, which I don't think we'll ever find out, is she the girl in the picture? Next
God,
to
that
his,
drives
I
me
don't
nuts.
know.
I
know.
wish I knew the picture.
I wish I could still remember the face of the girl.
Or like the
in picture.
context.
It was
Girl,
a graduation. It was
next
graduation.
time you come, I
Oh,
have
yes.
yearbooks. I have yearbooks.
Okay.
We could context clue if any of the faces. I don't know though. It's like, I don't know if you'd recognize them, any of them this many years later.
Maybe. Memories are a funny thing. Maybe, look, because I had seen that face so many times. He had a picture of him and a female student. It was clearly graduation, and it was like they were outside. So I don't know. And it was on his fridge, and I remember being so jealous of it.
Was she
Maybe.
in a robe or was she in
Yes.
normal clothes?
No, she was in a robe. My
Well,
memory
see,
of it is she's in a robe.
But then I can't context clue it because I know what I wore that day. But if you can't see it, it's me with braces and long hair. Braces, y'all. I had braces at the time. Let's just. That just makes it so much grosser. I had
know. Well, now-
braces when I was being abused by this guy. Like, I looked like a child because I was a child.
Yeah. So is she the girl in the graveyard? Yes. We
Yes.
talked about that. How long did she talk to him? This question is interesting to me, that I wrote it this way at that time, that I wasn't like, how long was she with him? You had told me 2000 to 2004. When was the last contact? 2005. And then I had notes of things that I wanted to talk to you about. My letter, which is the letters that we'll get into probably next time. The trigger, which was my aha moment.
Yep.
And then the clutch he still has. Parentheses, doubting myself, protection. I also wanted to talk to you about the teachers and staff who knew. about telling my siblings. My question, how far is she willing/wanting to go? Ooh, we found that out. And then I just have notes that you told me, which include his family knew about her, Flytrap, Toad, she's 12 years younger.
Flytrap Toad.
Because you obviously said things that I was like, ooh, those are some great metaphors.
So we've just been in this mode from day one, is what's happening.
I think so.
I do viscerally remember in that call at one point you being like, so what do you want to do? And we both were kind of like, I mean, take him down? And it was like, yes. And we both were like,
Did we just become best friends?
Exactly. Yep. It's like, are we going to talk every day till the day we die? Yes.
You want to go smash pumpkins in the garage?
Yeah, it was pretty much the vibe.
That is something that I do remember. Like, I feel like once I saw your face and I saw that you were just a normal looking person, I was less intimidated. And once we started talking, you reminded me instantly of Nikki, my friend who I know I've talked about a little bit on the podcast, who moved away after our freshman year of high school. But you reminded me so much of her from the beginning. And I know that really helped a lot. I felt like I already knew you in a way.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like, I feel like after I got off that first call with you, I remember saying to Carl, that was really easy and it shouldn't have been. Like, that shouldn't have been an easy conversation. And I feel like when we hung up, I was like, I feel like I could have talked to her for days. It felt like we just clicked so quickly. It didn't feel like there was a lot of like getting to know you time, like even the first time we like saw each other in person, I remember driving, because we met up in Galena, and I remember driving to Galena and being like, what am I doing? Like, I'm going to go spend a whole weekend with this person that I don't really know. And then like the second I saw you in person, I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking great. And we had like a great weekend, like, and it's never been a problem. Like, yeah, I just feel like there has been an ease in our relationship the whole time. And we talked about it a lot in that first call. I will say that there is a beauty and a disgust within that, because there is a reason you and I get along, and it is that you and I are very similar, which means that the teacher has a type, and that you and I unfortunately are that type. And so I remember us being pretty skeezed out about it on that first call of like, we both have glasses, we both have brown hair, like we both like the same movies, and we both like the same this, and we both blah blah blah. I mean, we're not identical and we have very different experiences in some ways, but it was kind of weird how similar we were. I always like to kind of acknowledge that like, oh, it's kind of fun and cute, and it's also pretty disturbing. So both can be true.
The first time I saw you in person, you were helping me find the building and running down the street to show me where the parking lot was.
I forgot about
And I
that.
was like, oh, I remember. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. Like this, she's my people. And there's like someone shouting out their window at you, and you're like, it's fine. We're parking. It's fine.
Oh my god.
You have this black luggage with white polka dots, and I have a white or black bag with white polka dots, and we both brought them to our first meetup with Galena, and we were like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Come on, you can't make this up.
No, and literally every single time we have met in person, we have brought at least one of the same identical objects with us each time.
Mhm.
And they have never been
Mhm.
things we've ever discussed before. So yeah, we do have like a weird kismet shopping thing going on,
Yeah.
where we have an aesthetic we both enjoy, apparently.
And we both like to reuse empty Talenti containers for snacks.
They're great. A, it's great gelato. B, they're fantastic containers for afterwards. But yes, we both travel with snacks in the same leftover gelato containers.
Yeah. So that's the tale of how we found each other and what happened on that day and around that time.
It felt like one of those moments where you're like, is this real life? Or is this like a TV show? Like there was also that excitement of like, holy shit, this is happening. And I don't know where this is going, but I know it's going to go somewhere really fucking interesting. And it's going to take us to a place and we don't know where the place is going to be. And I think that was also, it was like a journey. It was like a, you know what I mean? Like we're going on an adventure and we don't know where we're going, but fuck it, we're going to go. And I think that was also what was kind of exciting about it. Which is how I also feel about the podcast right now of like, I don't know where this is going to go, but we're doing it and we're having fun. So this feels like an extension of our very first meeting of just like, yeah, who knew we would end up zoomy woomy recording a podcast years later?
Somehow I was going to bring this back to therapy and I forgot what I was going to say.
I started going back
remember.
to therapy after I found you. I know that much.
Oh, yeah?
I was going to therapy at the time, maybe, and I had never brought it up. I think that's what it was. I was going to therapy and I had never mentioned any of it to my therapist, and I had been going for like a year. And then I remember contacting her and being like, beep, 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 boop, I need an emergency session because I'm going through a thing. And I went in and I was just like, so I haven't been talking about this. And I just like blurted it all out and then talked about meeting you. But that wasn't my current therapist. Like she wasn't the best fit in the world and she wasn't super helpful. So I only went to her for like 6 months, I think, after I found you. And then I switched therapists and started over with the woman that I currently see, which was a way, way, way better fit. But that was even really telling to me, like realizing I had been going to a therapist and I had never mentioned it ever was very like telling, like, oh, you're still keeping secrets and you're still hiding things and you're still, which goes back to what we were talking about before of that, like that learned behavior of like not telling the truth and keeping secrets and like protection. And obviously in that case, it was more like self preservation because I wasn't ready to talk about it. But it is weird when you catch yourself doing that and you're like, oh, fuck. Okay. Like, I didn't realize I was keeping this from myself this whole time.
I was still with him and I must have been in like my early 20s. And I was trying to find a therapist. And I was trying to do it through my university and they had limited resources that they could provide. And someone that I was working with at the time, she said that she had someone who she recommended and she actually came with me to my first meeting with this therapist. And as the therapist was asking me questions about me and my life, my relationship, and I knew I wasn't being honest because I knew that I couldn't be honest without getting the teacher in trouble. And there came a point where I think it was like after probably the second session, maybe the third, where I just decided that I wasn't going to continue with therapy. And when I finally did try again, probably like 10 years later, I knew that one of the reasons why I wasn't ready for therapy the first time was because I wasn't being honest. I think I only like recently put together that I wasn't ready for therapy at that time in my early 20s because I wasn't being honest about my quote unquote relationship specifically. I know now that that's what I wasn't ready to be honest about. Once I did actually decide if I need help, I need to be willing to be vulnerable and willing to talk about hard things that I've been through. And there's just a lot of things that I feel like led up to that. And it is quite an experience to look back on and just see, yeah, where I'm at now, and happy to be doing this podcast now. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Right? You want to know what I think, Miss Lippy? Let me tell you what I think. People getting so upset at Sabrina Carpenter right now for her songs and her
Ooh.
sexuality and how horny she is. Great, great. Guess what? Girls are horny and there's nothing wrong with that, and owning your sexuality and being proud of it, and her new album cover and blah blah blah, and people have so many opinions on this image that she was a Disney girl and little girls this and little girls that. Where is the uproar about the fact that the president of the United States is a literal rapist? Like
Mm.
why it's so maddening
Mm-hmm.
that people are, because you know if Sabrina Carpenter ever came out and said this happened to me, I was sexually abused, whatever. She hasn't. I'm just saying, if she did, people would be blaming her, and
Mm-hmm.
because look at the songs that she sings about, and look at what she wears, and da 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 da, and the same standard is not upheld for the president of the United States. No, like, it's just maddening.
I agree. I just saw her album cover the other day on Instagram. And it's funny because at first I was like, is this a real photo? Because it reminded me of just some posts I've seen about like advertising from like the 60s, like actual print ads that ran that were very similar to that photo, like used as examples of like extremely sexist, misogynistic like advertising back in the day of like, can you believe that this is how they used to advertise rug cleaner or something, whatever, something like that. And so for a second I was like, oh, haha, somebody like photoshopped her and all one of those old photos. And I was like, oh, wait, no. And then I was like, oh. And then I went to the comment section because I was like, oh, this is gonna be juicy. And it was
People
just
are gonna have some opinions.
and it was just tit for tat, like of people being like, how dare she? And then people being like, oh no, a woman who knows what she likes and like is open about her kink. And like some people like to be submissive and that's okay. And then other people being like, yeah, but then what's the message that it's sending? And other people being like, well, fuck the message. Like she can do what she wants. She's an artist, like blah, blah, blah. And so it's an interesting argument that like I just stumbled upon the other day where I was kind of like, oh, good Lord. Like, here we go. People are hot under the collar about it. But I agree with you. Like, it's people are so up in arms about everything that women do. And then, yeah, literally the president of the United States can be a known sexual predator and it's fine and nobody cares. I shouldn't say nobody cares. A lot of fucking people care. But
we did just see
unfortunately,
that over the weekend.
We
with all
did.
the protests.
The No Kings protest. Good job, everybody. I would
Mhm.
assume a lot of
Good
our
job.
listeners are on that side of history. Yeah, but I mean, it's also like the boy spat between him and fucking Elon Musk, and it's
Oh
all
my God.
when Elon Musk was like, "Well, he's in the Epstein files," and boo, boo, boo. I was saying to Carl the other day, I was like, the bigger takeaway from this should not be that he's in the Epstein files, because motherfucker, we all knew he was in the Epstein files. That's news to nobody. That is news to nobody. The takeaway should be that Elon Musk knew that he
Mhm.
was in those fucking files and he still helped him get elected because
Millions.
men protect men. It's what they
Yes.
fucking do.
Yep.
And that should be more shameful on him than anything else. God damn, we are living in a strange fucking time, man. We are living in a strange time. People are more offended by women that cuss, women that are sexual, women that are openly discussing their menstrual cycles than they are about rapists. People are fucking crazy. We should put this in at the end of our thing because we talked about it before. We are super excited people are listening to our podcast. We are blown away by the response that we are receiving. We are getting really good feedback from people, and people are listening and engaging, and we're very happy about that. But it's like 90% women listening to our podcast, which
Yes.
is not a surprise, right? Because unfortunately, this is experience that more women have experienced than men. It does also happen to men and boys, but unfortunately happens to women more. But we want to challenge our listeners. If you love Blooming After Grooming, if you are team Diana and Sarah, if you are hoping to be part of changing our culture and changing our systems, we want to challenge you to sharing the podcast with at least one man in your life, because we all have to be aware of these issues, not just women. And I think a lot of times the labor for prevention is put on women, right? Don't wear this, don't go there, don't go out outside after dark, don't blah, 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 blah. And we need to be putting more of the pressure on the men in the world to be better, to do better, to not be the Elon Musk to the Trump, to speak up when you know that somebody's being a piece of shit. to say something, because we alone cannot change the way that things are. So, dear listener, please try to convert at least one man in your life to listening to a few of our episodes.
And again, we like to remind everyone that we are only experts in our own lived experiences, and we have learned some stuff along the way, but we are not the end all be all experts in this topic. But that being said, I do, just based off the feedback that we have gotten from listeners already, it does seem that us talking about protecting children, about how to be that person that intervenes when they see something that could be a red flag, that's information that's beneficial to everybody, not just women, not just survivors of abuse. So yeah, please tag your fave dude on our Instagram, Blooming After Pod. Send them our website. We have a website now, bloomingafterpod.com. It is a fun and important challenge to get the men out here, because guess what? Patriarchy also hurts men. I saw a sign of one of the protests that said, it's bad when a straight cis white guy makes a sign and is out here. It's like, it shouldn't be funny, but it is, because that's how bad it is. And there needs to be more of y'all out here. So come
It's
on,
true.
join the conversation.
And yes, and you can email us, and on our website, we also have a contact us form. Yeah, we appreciate people tuning in and listening.
And a gentle reminder to take care of yourself. We have also heard from feedback that the podcast is stirring up some uncomfortable feelings, and you know yourself best. You know your limits. Step away if you need to. Hit the pause button if you need to. Come back to it if you feel like it. Take care of yourself. There's resources out there which you can also find on our new website and on our Instagram. So yeah, thanks for being here, but make sure that you are taking it easy on yourself too. Life is hard.
Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to take a break from, like my husband says, even badasses need a day off every once in a while. So take care, and you can gather up strength to fight another day, but today doesn't always have to be that day.
And can I just say one more thing about Donald Trump and Elon Musk breakup?
Yeah.
Is to anyone who has ever said that a woman cannot be president because she be too emotional. You cannot get more dramatic and emotional.
They think that women can't deal with anything. Women are literally going to work, bleeding into their pants, massive diarrhea, nausea,
Pain.
fucking pain, zits everywhere,
being bloated,
nothing
feeling
fits,
depressed,
feeling like a big blob, and they still got to go to fucking work, and they still have to sit in a finance meeting or a goddamn business planning meeting, and they still have to answer emails. Spare me. Women rise above every fucking day. We're very good.
Yeah.
We're very good at dealing with challenges, and we're very good at keeping emotionally regulated at work, because also we're not allowed to be emotional at work, because then you're being ridiculous and you're being emotional. But men can get really angry at work and yell at people and act like petulant children, and that's okay.
And that's being strong. All right, so
we're gonna end that, because Sarah could go on about that for a very long time. And I did just say I want men to listen, and then I yelled about men, so maybe we should cut that out.
I mean, men do better. Everyone do better, but especially the men. Okay. Take care and go forth and bloom, and keep on blooming every day, and then find a way to bloom some more. Bye.
Bye.